Hey guys, what's up? It's your man Pete, and just thought I would give you the latest update on the October sales numbers that just came out yesterday from the Toronto Real Estate Board. And again, it's another one of those disappointing months in terms of sales activity and total transactions because it was actually the second worst month of the year in 2022. That is again the lost year of real estate. And just when you don't think it can get any worse, it does, right? But I think it has a little bit more to do with the inventory this time around than the actual demand of buyers buying properties. And then obviously a lot of the demand is sitting on the sidelines, so to speak, sort of waiting for the next opportunity to buy. And of course, we all know about the 50 basis point rate hike that happened just a week ago. And of course, the much watched inflation numbers were at 6.9% for the month of September. Obviously, everyone's keeping a close eye on this, and we're going to want to see how those numbers clocked in for the month of October, which I think we'll probably see closer towards December. But yes, just last week, the Bank of Canada just raised their overnight interest rate to 3.75%. So while inflation seems to be cooling just a little bit, definitely not seeing it at the pumps though. And at least rates are not going up 75 basis points or 100 basis points like what we saw over the summer. So July was the month where they actually raised it 100 basis points. So that's why we had the worst month of sales activity for the entire year in the month of July this year. But again, all eyes are on the Fed in the US and the Bank of Canada and all the other central banks around the world, where it is starting to feel like the Bank of Canada is really trying to reach their target of 4.25% as an overnight rate, either towards the end of this year or into early next year. It wouldn't totally surprise me if we saw 25 basis point hikes just to sort of do the raises slowly. But in talking to investors, some of them are actually already seeing this as a pivot where the market is going to turn again. And of course, buying activity and demand is going to pick back up again here in Toronto and the GTA region. This is all just conjecture. This is all what we hear in the news and the media. And then of course, in the rate hike announcements, these are the types of things that we're paying close attention to here in the real estate industry. Yeah, the October sales numbers were really disappointing to me because it kind of seemed like things were starting to pick back up again. You know, we started seeing activity increase slightly in August and then slightly again in September. And we're seeing very, very marginal incremental price increases, like a few $1,000s. But it essentially feels like we found a bottom here close to $1.1 million. But it really seems to be another story going on here where it's not just about the lack of buyer demand, but there's also a lack of inventory as well too, because it all works in a cycle, right? So when more people are buying and prices are going up, then you have more people putting up their properties for sale. But then when the prices are going down or there's some other external factors that are happening around the world that are completely out of our control, so then of course when prices are not that favorable anymore, then you don't have as many people putting up their houses for sale. And that's kind of what we're experiencing right now. But yeah, so just to sort of give you a sentiment of what the market is like right now, it's really like this is what buyers are thinking in their minds, right? They're like, hey, I knew it. I knew these prices were not sustainable. I knew the prices were going to come down. And then when the big crash happens, I'm going to be able to pick up my future dream home for pennies on the dollar. But what these buyers are forgetting is that, yeah, you're paying for a lower amount of house, but at the same time, you're paying a lot more interest too, which doesn't actually contribute to your net worth. And so it really kind of sucks either way, right? So when you wanted lower prices, you got lower prices, but you have to suffer the consequences of higher interest rates. And then of course, sellers are definitely very price sensitive where oftentimes, you do have to sell. There are situations in your life or your lifestyle that changes and you have to sell or you need to get rid of property. Now, there are some who are speculating in the market, who've purchased pre-construction or they want to sell and they want to make as much money as they can on the property that they've purchased. Like they just don't want to sell for anything less. Many of them, they find different alternatives. They'll rent out the property or maybe they'll find a way to live in that property, sell off another property, or they'll hold on for a few months and try to sell at a different time in a different market. This slowdown here seems a little bit more prolonged and it's certainly affected by things that are happening all over the world, not so much fundamentally here in Toronto and the GTA region. But the thing is about sellers is that when they get frustrated and they can't sell the property or they're not even getting any showings or any offers, it tends to burn them pretty hard. And so what happens is they'll take the property off the market, find other arrangements, maybe rent it out, maybe put a relative in there, or again, like I mentioned, they'll move into the property, or some of them, they just leave them empty and just be like, okay, I'll just cover the costs and the expenses of this property until it's a good time to sell again. But I think it's pretty clear, barring any sort of nuclear disaster happening in the world or some sort of all-out World War III, that we've pretty much hit some sort of bottom here in terms of real estate in Toronto, where we've seen 3-4 months of pretty much consecutive flat prices. But now what we're hearing in the market is that there just isn't any inventory, especially for low-rise housing. Because again, when sellers are frustrated and they can't sell, they're going to find other arrangements. And so you may not see that home come out for another 6 months, 12 months, or maybe even 2 years. But yeah, with all these changes happening around in the world and all these constant threats of rate hikes hikes and so forth, it's really starting to feel like we might be starting to turn a corner. If not at the end of this year, probably early on in 2023, as long as we don't have some sort of catastrophic recession. So in looking back, because obviously in 2022, you've had a lot of time to reflect on things, which is that all this wild uncertainty and challenges and difficulties that have happened in the real estate market here in the GTA was really a year of adjustment, of realignment, of figuring out where we're going to go into the future as we sort of clean up some messes here in 2022. And I'm really hoping that we have a bit more of a balanced market. You know, nobody wants to go to a property and there's 30 offers and 10 serious buyers on a property. Nobody really wants that anymore. But then at the same time, you also don't want to put a property up for sale and nobody's coming to look at it either. I hope that towards the end of this year and into next year, we see a bit more of a balanced, stable, and strong market here in Toronto and the GTA. But again, we've always suffered with housing shortage here in Toronto. And with the new federal government's policy to allow in 500,000 more immigrants into the country every single year to sort of help bridge the labor gap and help support the aging population, you can be sure that pretty much close to half of those, or maybe even like 40% of those, are going to be coming to the Toronto area to look for work and raise a family and build a life. And typically the ones that are coming are of prime working age because of course they can earn and they can pay taxes. But when they're here, they obviously need a place to live, whether it's renting or owning a property. So you can be rest assured that for the next little while or the foreseeable future, we're going to continue to see population growing here in Toronto and the GTA, probably a lot faster than we even anticipated. And so how is the housing going to keep up to that? Well, I mean, I think high-rise is probably the only solution. We just have to build denser, more living so that people can at least afford to buy a condo or a larger condo apartment. So the demand for housing in the region is going to be even more strained than we originally even anticipated. So, you know, I'm not necessarily saying you should buy when you're not ready or buy when you don't have money or buy when your job is not stable. Don't do that. What I'm saying is if you are ready, you know, financially capable, and it's the right time for you in your life and your lifestyle, then you should definitely purchase a property at the right time, at the most opportune time, and this being one of them. Maybe there will be more in the future, but without being able to see the future, what we can see right now is that Toronto is sitting around the bottom. It's an opportune time. It's one of the opportune times that you can get into the market. But anyways, I hope you guys like this video. Please continue to stay on the channel. Please continue to watch and support and leave good comments. But again, if you need more passionate and personal service, then please don't be shy. Hit us up. Contact is in the description box below. It's also at the end of the video. We'll see you guys in the next one, and thanks for watching.